I'd like to say that today's video is going to please a lot of you, but it probably won't, seeing as how most people on BookTube don't like watching book reviews. But, sadly, I don't care, because I really freaking enjoyed this book, and I felt like I needed to review it. The book that I'm going to be reviewing today is The Sacred Lies of Minnow Bly by Stephanie Oakes. Before you leave and exit off this video, like half of you are going to do, please just let me tell you that you should read this book. It is good. It's the first book in a while that I've given 5 out of 5 stars. You may leave now. For those of you who'd like to stay and listen to my thoughts in depth about the book, welcome. Hi. Thank you for sticking around. We have a real connection now. Thank you for, yeah. Love you. That being said, if you don't know what this book is about, it's about a young girl named Minnow Bly. Weird. It's about a young girl named Minnow Bly who has a very interesting story. For 12 years of her life, she's lived in a cult. On top of that, she has no hands. No hands. Just get the steps. Not only do those two aspects of this character make her someone that most of us would want to read about, but God, is she interesting. We're introduced to Minnow right away. She's the narrator of the story, and we are trying to figure out, along with Minnow, who in the hell she is as an individual. The two places that Minnow has spent her life in are a cult and prison. She's trapped in two very constricting settings while trying to figure out who she is when she has freedom and who she is without people oppressing their beliefs on her, and she just doesn't know who the hell she is. And it is such an empowering story. This story is humorous. This story makes you bawl. This story fills you with love, and it fills you with anger, and you go through every freaking emotion while reading this book. I feel like it's a very underrated book, and it needs to be hyped. Hype it up, up, up. I absolutely loved this book. Yet again, like I said earlier, 5 out of 5. I would have, the only thing that really irked me about this book was that the ending was very open-ended. But I love open endings, so I was okay with it. I know that a lot of people though would probably be pissed about it, so I am warning you right now, it has an open ending, you guys. You don't necessarily know what happens to Minnow, but you only hope and pray for the good. And so I'm hoping and praying that it ended well for her. Actually, I'm making it end well for her in my head. But you can make it end however you want. This is the first Stephanie Oakes book that I've ever read, and I'm really hoping and planning on reading more of her works just because this book was so good. This book is very dark. There are some very morbid scenes. It's a very mature book. Please note that they're very graphic descriptions, but those graphic descriptions make the story. And the fact that Stephanie Oakes describes those scenes so, they're so vivid in your mind, but they're not, the writing isn't necessarily flat out, there was lots of blood. She has a way of weaving, of just creating this world and these scenes and shocking us. And it's such a good shock that it hurts a little, but you're like, oh, do it again, do it again, do it again. Another thing that really amazed me about this book was the fact that, Oakes literally created this whole, at least I hope she created, I hope there are not people out there like this. There are, but I just hope to God there ain't. This whole cult, this whole religion was created out of thin air for her, and that is marvelous. That is mind freaking blowing. And this book really leaves you thinking, one, how would you act in this situation if you were Minnow? Would you be a person that religiously followed the cult, or would you be a person who broke out and ended up getting her hands chopped off? How would you act in jail? And how would you just be a part? How would you find yourself in these situations? Like, how would you become who you're supposed to be in these just mind-boggling situations? Minnow is an amazing character. She's strong, she's passionate, and she's confused, and I think that that's something that all of us can relate to. We are all a minnow. Granted, we probably, at least most of us, have hands, and we don't have a horror story of how they got chopped off, and we don't have a horror story of how we lost them, but God, read this book. It's so good. I just, like, I'm still, like, I finished this book, like, last week, and I'm still, like, hyped about it. I'm trying to think of more to say, but I just don't. I know that I suck at reviews, and I just hope that you guys also know that I suck at reviews now. But it was just a book that I needed to review. I don't know how to review things without spoiling. Another thing I love about this book is that Stephanie Oakes weaves the past with the present. There's not like a distinct section of the book where it's all just past, and there's not a distinct section where it's all just future or present. Something in the present, you know, switches something for Minnow that makes her think about this past memory, and I love that. I love that there is a reason we are being told of the past. It's not just that the past is important, it's that there is a reason we need to know what happened. And that is such a powerful type of writing. I'm currently reading a book that, you know, needs to tell the past, but it is literally sectioned past, present, and it is so unbelievably boring because I don't care. Any author who can find a way to meticulously weave in the past with the present gets 100% in my books, and Stephanie Oakes does that. You guys, you need to read this book. I don't do book reviews often, and I don't suggest a lot of books to people, but I would highly suggest reading this book because it's really freaking good. That is really all I have to say. For those of you who sticked around and watched the end of this video, thank you for listening and tuning in. If you skipped to the closure, what's up? I'm glad you liked the first 2 minutes of this video. Hi. Basically summarize, the summary was what I told you. Well, just read the book, it's really good. That being said, that's all for this video. Comment, like, subscribe. See you guys!